my voice. Welcome everyone, it's Patricia, and I thought I'd go on and do a live video so we can talk a little bit about the changes that are coming up with Scentsy and what my thoughts are. So I think it was on Wednesday of last week, Scentsy announced a bunch of changes, and my friend Shannon messaged me and said there was a change to the activity requirement, or what you needed to stay active. Sorry, my husband's coughing in the background. There's a lot of sickness here. Hi, Stacy. So I did go on and read the changes, and I guess part of me is not surprised because I've learned for a long time that Scentsy makes I think, this is what I think, this whole thing is what I think, but I think they make the majority of their, hi Mary, decisions based on money. And I imagine most businesses are like that. If you don't know a lot about me, I work in a dental office, so I am more of a science person. And hi Abby, I'm more of a science person, so I don't have a lot of business background. So I started with Scentsy in February 1st, 2018. And I picked that month because I wanted to get the transition kit, which means you get, hi Melissa, you get the kit from the catalog that is on and the one that is coming. And I knew that I was loving the product and I wanted to join so I could get a deal on the product. So I might as well just give you a little background since people are hopping on. So I started my YouTube channel, I think in March. I think it was March 21st of 2018. And I remember thinking to myself, I want to do reviews. I want to help people figure out what the scent smells like because you don't often get to smell it on your own. I'm just going to bring myself up on the iPad here so I can see comments before they disappear. So I would say I never really thought about getting orders. And if you've noticed when I put videos, I usually don't refer to a lot of my things on my channel. And I do put my contact information down in the description box. So if someone was looking to order, like I don't even talk and say that I'm a consultant. I'm supposed to. I think I'm supposed to say that I'm a consultant, but I'm just like, it is what it is. So anyway, if you go in the description box, you can find my consultant details. But I don't often talk about that. So I think I was doing something one day and I got an email and it said, you have an order or something like that. And I was like, what? So I think it was in July of 2018. I got an order for someone down in the States and I was shocked. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I think I was on cloud 9 the whole day because just from watching my YouTube videos, somebody ordered for me. So I was shocked by that. So gradually one order turned into more. And now here we are in 2025. And I do have a full-time job. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a regular profession that provides me my regular income, but Scentsy has provided me with not quite a hobbyist level, like it's more of a part-time, gig level. So I'm probably somewhere in the middle of the whole, I'm not an essential consultant, I'm a superstar consultant. But I think because of the nature of the way I do things, I probably won't go higher in the promotions because I do not like recruiting. So for me, I just like to talk about the product and I like to explain what I think. Hi, Brandy. But I definitely don't like recruiting. It's not something that is for me. And it's just not something that I'm ever probably going to change. If somebody wanted to join my team, that is fine. But and I will be there to answer questions, but I usually don't ask people to join. And if I do, it's because I think the person is an addict like me and they might want to get commission on their sales. So that's kind of the long and short of it. So when I read the changes, I guess I wasn't really surprised, except for there was one thing that I really didn't like. But the other things, it's not that I don't, how do I say this? Do we like the changes? No. But I understand some of them. So let's just break it down. The first change talked about bundles and savings. I'm just going to call them bundles and changes to the way you save. Now, they said it was for simplicity's sake that they went and did this change. And I did watch Dan Orchard's video, and I might highlight a little bit about it, but I only watched it once. I don't really want to watch it again. They said they wanted things to be more simple, and I can see that some of the bundles and saves, some people don't know to go and pick out the bundles and saves, but then they went and changed the approach a few months ago so that it was automatically bundling, which was wonderful. We all love that, but I'm not really sure why they would introduce that only to go change it again. So that part, I think they should have just rolled that out with this change, personally. So the change they're going with is they're not having the buy 5 get 1 free bundles with like all the products, except for with an asterisk, and we'll talk about the bars. And I'm sure if you're watching my video, you probably know that, you probably have heard some of the changes, but in case you're one of my customers and you haven't heard about the changes, and you will be able to see all these changes in the website starting March 1st, in the catalog starting March 1st. They are going to a 10% off discount when you purchase 6 or more. Now, that's the way I understand it. Please let me know if that's the way you understand it. So obviously, if you were to purchase 7, you would still get the 10% discount. Now, you can do that with wax, you know, scent packs. I would assume everything. Well, they didn't really talk about everything, but I did take a screenshot. But essentially, the 5 1 free, buy 5 get 1 free is not going to be happening anymore, and instead it's buy 6 and get 10% off. And that is obviously, to me, a way for them to raise the prices without saying that they're going to raise the prices. So now the only difference is they've allowed the buy 5 get 1 free to stay as a workstation entry for the consultant. So let's say you're a customer and do you get 10% off all the bars, not just 6? That's what I would understand. And in my brain, I actually did a little bit of a math workout, and I think, and I'll tell you what I did here in a second, but I feel like 10 bars might be the magical number, and I'll explain why. But if you still want to get the buy 5 get 1 free wax bundle, you can get that. Your consultant could enter it in for you, and it is done that way. Now, some people are wondering, if my consultant enters it in, is my order going to go to the consultant? You could have your order go to the consultant, but it can easily go to you. There's just a button that we press. Does it go directly to the customer? Or if it was someone local to me, obviously I would get it sent to me so that they didn't have to pay extra shipping. So let's say Susie in Toronto wants me to order 6 bars. I can do that for her. I would just say direct ship to Susie in Toronto. Or somebody in New York, same thing, direct ship to New York, okay? All right, so I think what's gonna happen is there's gonna be some scenarios with that. If you're on the website and you're wanting to order some Scentsy bars, let's say you're a regular customer and you understand the way things work now, and then March 1st happens, you're gonna go on the website and you're gonna say, okay, now I'm paying a certain portion. So before in the US you were paying $30, and if you bought 6 bars after the change, you're gonna pay an extra $2.40, if I've done my math correct. And in Canada it's $40, and on March 1st, it would be an extra $3.20, okay? So some people might just say to themselves, I'm okay with that. I am just gonna pay that for the convenience of not having to deal with the consultant, not having to arrange either an e-transfer or send my credit card information or do PayPal, etc. So you're gonna have some people that are gonna say that's not a significant increase for me to worry about it. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is a lot of the regular customers are gonna already be used to club. And this is kind of mimicking club prices, if you ask me. That's what I think, that they're kind of directing people into something that is somewhat familiar. I think that's maybe why they did this. I don't know. Then you're going to have the person, and this is what I think that's going to happen to me. Mostly my online customers are probably not going to message me if they do message me, I will be more than happy to put it in for them. Is it extra work? I guess so, but I feel like that's my job. The third thing that's going to happen is you're going to have that local person that messages you and says, "Oh, what happened to the buy 5, get 1 free?" And you're going to say, "Oh, I can enter that in for you." And because they're local, it kind of takes care of that problem because they're local. And I can picture one person locally that will notice, and all of my other customers will probably have heard about the changes, but they know that I order for them anyway, so it's not a big deal. Then you're going to have the last scenario, where is you are a online customer and you don't really like the change, but you also don't want to deal with the consultant. And not that you don't like your consultant, but you don't want to have to message the consultant because maybe you're private and you're just, up late at night doing your ordering, or you just don't want to give them your credit card. I think what's going to happen with some of those people is they're either going to do one of two things. They're going to say, "I don't want to order," which I don't think my customers will do that, because if they're like me, they probably still want the wax. The other thing they might do is decide to become their own consultant and just put their own orders in and not have to worry about the extra step. And I think that they might be doing that. I think they might be hoping or wondering if that's going to happen. Hi, April. So one thing I'm going to say is I was always annoyed with the counter clean, save $1 for 3, or certain things save $1 for 3. I'm like, that is a terrible deal. So this 10% off, I don't think it works with counter cleans. See, I'm confused on this. The cleaning, the laundry, and the moisture medley bundle are different. So I'm sure we're going to see more as it comes out. But if you understand more, let me know, because I'm not on Facebook. I know I'm going to miss the buy 5 pods, get the other one for free, because for me that's the most significant thing that's going to affect me, I think. But I kind of wish that they would have made it 15%. But I feel like they're probably sitting in a room and they've got all these financial situations and they're like, what can we do to make it work? And I'm going to talk about the things that I would like to see changed financially myself. Not that it really matters, but it's just nice to sometimes get it off your chest. So one thing I will say is I did do some math and I figured out if you buy 10 bars today, in the US, it would cost you $53 because you have to pay a 6-pack, a 3-pack, and a single. And then in Canada, that would be $71. Now, if you do it on March 1st, that same exact scenario costs you $1 more in the US or $1 more in Canada. So that is getting you the closest to what's existing. Yes, I believe they should have asked opinions too, but you know what I think is happening? They talk to the superstar directors and the star directors. They don't talk to people that are like regular certified consultants or lead consultants or star or superstar. I don't think they talk to the people that aren't in the director status. So the other thing is you're not hearing from the people that are kind of in the trenches. So, and please, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out there, because I'm just kind of, talking, what's the word? I'm kind of like spitfiring or spitballing or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but I just want to say this to get it off my chest. And I'm not trying to be negative at all. I'm just trying to say that I can understand some of the changes, but there's just one change I really don't like. And we'll probably get that closer to that at the end. Now, point number 2, and I'm not going to go into all the dollar amounts because that'll just bore everybody, but the second thing they're changing is the host reward system. So they're raising each level of host rewards. So traditionally there's like 4 levels, and when you get to the second level, you're not happy. I don't think anybody's really happy, but when you get to the second level, I believe that's when your party qualifies for free shipping. When you get to the third level, that's when it's optimal for your percentages. So those are all going up. I have a question about being active. I'm active in January, February. Am I good for the year? Does a consultant have to be active after March? No, I believe, it would depend on what the upcoming agreement says, but I would assume if you're active in January, that would bring you to a full year. So the changes come into effect in March, but if you were active in March, it would carry you through to the following March. So what we're going to talk about next is the party rewards. I don't have a lot to say about that. I will just say that I can understand raising some of the party reward levels, because if that's what you need to do to kind of make it still a feasible option, then unfortunately that's what you have to do. I think all these changes came at such a horrible time right before spring and summer. Isn't that a slower time? I would think that perhaps the last few months didn't do as well as they were hoping. Personally, I've noticed orders gradually going down over time, and part of it I thought was just me. I was starting to get a complex, but obviously it's probably happened to other people as well. One thing I do different, well, I don't know if I do it differently, but I used to put a lot of like bundles in party, my half price credits, and I'm really tired, so I'm probably going to misspeak a little bit, but I used to put a lot of things in my half price credits that were more on the expensive side. And now I try to put the cheapest thing I can, so I'm spending as little as possible when I close out a party. So before, when they changed the bulbs and they changed the scent circles, that was ideal when I could just put like, if I had 4 half price credits, I would often just put a bulb, just because I wanted my overall price to be lower. And once you get a lot of wax, you don't tend to need an abundance of wax. That's kind of how I'm getting into this problem. It means a lot to me that you're being affected. Prices are expensive, and that's what I hear in my world. I can't deny that. Yes. Sorry, I was supposed to bring myself up, and I forgot to do that. So hopefully I'm not missing too much, but... Oh, just a second. I got to turn this down. I'm having so many problems with my phone and my iPad lately, so we'll be lucky if I be able to get videos out in the future, but... Now, if you think back, so when I joined in 2018, the biggest controversy that happened shortly after I joined was the Scentsy Club controversy. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but raise your hand if you do. When they went from bundle and saves in the club to the 10% off, people were pissed. I think overall inflation has a lot to do with people not purchasing Scentsy, among other unnecessary products. Probably, yes. I mean, when you think about it, you got to go to the grocery store. My biggest worry is whether or not Scentsy is able to stick around in the long term, because I was devastated if I couldn't get my wax. I miss the bundle and save and for half offs too. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, when they went from the bundles in the club to the 10% off, people were so angry, and they put Dan Orchard up on one of those explanatory videos again, and he was nervous. You could tell he was nervous, and it was interesting to see. But I feel like now it's happening again. Dan is the person that they've chosen to kind of bring all this forward. So I guess one thing you have to ask is this? I mean, when you have Heidi and Orville, they take 3 years off. I mean, then they come back. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if anyone else kind of thinks that. Well, I'm so attached to my clubs. It's kind of sad, really. I mean, really, at the end of the day, obviously I love wax. I would never want to, at this stage, lose my wax. But, and I don't think we will. I think that they're making these changes because they want Scentsy to continue. And sometimes, you know, think to something in your life that, you know, maybe times are tough and you had to make some really crappy, tough decisions to kind of get you through. But once you get through that, you know, things hopefully will get better. And I will say, when I watched the video, I didn't even really contemplate that things were not going the greatest, because I don't watch the end of the month lives because I don't have Facebook. But when Dan Orchard he said something to the effect of, well, they went away on their religious mission for 3 years. They went over to London, I think. So, you know, they're not like directly right in Idaho, kind of in the thick of things. I'm sure they were involved, but what was I just saying? What was I talking about? You're not leaving? No, I'm not leaving. I can't think straight right now, but I'm not leaving. What were we just talking about? I'm a numbers person. Okay, so yes, Dan's when he said that, he said it like this. He goes, well, we're still in the black. But the way he said it, I was like, oh my gosh. It reminded me of when if like your parents said like, we're going to separate, I was kind of crushed for a second. Yes, oh, let me just go back. Yeah, my iPad's a little late, but yeah, like that part I really found alarming. It didn't do much to calm me down, but they're comparing the spike in 2020. Yeah. So okay, let's talk about Dan's video just for a second, because I don't have a lot to. The other thing I'm going to point out to you is, do you guys remember the big kerfuffle before we talk about the video? Because I have things written down, so I want to highlight them so I don't forget. But do you guys remember when the Scentsy Club had the shipping charged as I think it was like a 10% of your order, and if you had a $300 club, your shipping would be $30. So I mean, that change was not good, and they eventually went to a different model. Yes, I'm just reading some comments here. I definitely remember when club was 10% off bars instead of bundles. Yes, very scary. They can't go to business things, not strings. Thanks for doing this. Okay. So I remember that was a big change that people really didn't like. And eventually that kind of changed. Now, I think what it is because Scentsy has party rewards and they have club rewards, and then they have other things that they do, which I'll talk about towards the end. I think that it's an expensive way to do business. So I think that's why shipping is not free very much until you get to a certain level. And I think you have to kind of pick and choose what your benefits are going to be in a way. Because they might say, well, in order to keep prices at a certain amount, we can't have parties anymore. And then we'd be like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, I'm not sitting in there in the room with them, but I'm just trying to imagine it. And maybe the changes that they would suggest, and then the changes that we would suggest, maybe our changes wouldn't get them to the dollar amount that they need. All right. But Dan's video, that we're still in the black part, that made me really nervous. The other thing I noticed was he talked a lot about momentum. And I'm thinking to myself, right now we're kind of in a downhill momentum, obviously, and we kind of have to stop that. And I feel like hopefully we're stopping it now, and hopefully it will improve. But only time will tell, right? They talked a lot about getting back to basics, and sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad, because you also have to adapt and change with the times. And sometimes I'm not sure if what they were talking about is really going to work. It's going to be interesting to see. What did you think when Lacey left? What did I think, Amy? I really didn't like the way, I don't know the whole thing about, I don't know the behind the scenes story. I don't know if anybody does, but I really don't like when they announce like Joe Blow is leaving. We've decided to part ways with, XYZ. I really feel like that's not, I don't know if it's any of our business really, but it came across with kind of a not feel good factor, in my opinion. I just didn't really like the way it sounded or felt. It just felt kind of, I don't know if icky it's not a very sophisticated word to say. It was kind of icky. I definitely didn't like the way it was done. Yes, it felt unprofessional. I don't really, the other thing is, and maybe it's because I'm not a superstar director, but I don't want to sound like I'm not rah-rah cheering people on, but when they're like, Susie Snowmaker is now superstar director, I'm like, oh, great. And then they give you a big, long spiel about her. I'm like, well, okay, well, I mean, it's probably just something they got in the habit of doing, but now it's just kind of strange. How could we be in the dark when they are making so much money off these $100 warmers? Yeah, I agree. They did not have to announce it to the world. It was performance related. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I don't know if you guys have noticed, and we're probably just going way off on a tangent here, but when you're on social media, like Instagram or whatever, people share things that I'm thinking to myself, that should be private. Why are you sharing that? And sometimes the other thing I've noticed is people will argue about anything and be mean about lots of things. So I just think the whole world is sad. I've built a friendship with many on YouTube, such as yourself. She was with the company from the beginning. Even if it was performance related, they couldn't have put her in a department. Her leaving was strange. Well, it might have come down to fundamentally she wasn't happy and she didn't want to be there anymore. Like, we really don't know. Are the changes going to be bad? I mean, I don't know if the changes are going to be bad because time really will dictate how things are going to do. I think if they don't make the changes, then it would be bad because that probably means that they wouldn't be able to continue on. I mean, one thing you have to remember is the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So if you've been around for 20 years, hopefully you will continue to be around. But sometimes in order to stay, you have to make tough decisions to get you there. Whether or not we agree, I think what it ultimately comes down to is everybody is going to have to sit there and figure out how is this going to affect you and your relationship with Scentsy. Depending on if you do it as a business, a part-time job, a hobbyist, a customer, is it a make or break situation? Crunch the numbers and see what works for you. Because what works for me is not going to work for consultant B down the street. That's my opinion. The other thing that Dan said was they were focusing a lot about getting new customers. And every time they were talking about that, I'm like, well, what about existing customers? And I think a lot of businesses do that. And at the dental office, we do that. Sometimes we talk about new patients. How many new patients did we get? How many new patients did we get? It's like, well, you also want to make sure that you're retaining your existing patients, right? So when you think about if we sold a lot of wax and etc. in 2020 and 2021, then all of a sudden started to drop. Why do you guys think that is? Is it because money became tight and people had to make some significant adjustments? Or maybe we had a lot of new customers and we didn't retain the new customers. I don't know. Anyway, we have 122 people watching right now, so thank you so much. Rob says, so many lovely people I follow. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the comments, but they're coming through. All right. Beth says, hobby consultants are great customers for them. I spend a lot for Scentsy. April says, I think the economy is tough for a lot of people in general. Lauren says, the low-level customers like myself are customers trying to get a discount on their own products. Asking the higher-ups who get their stuff with rewards for their opinions is ridiculous. Completely agree with you. Need to satisfy the existing customers because they will then share to new customers. All right. Yeah, so I mean, those are just a few things that I wrote down, excuse me, about the video. And I don't really want to watch the video again because, and sometimes, and it's not that I don't want to support my local YouTubers, but when I'm watching videos, I feel like everything is so heavy and it kind of makes me sad. It's almost like sometimes when you get bad news, you just want to escape from the bad news. I think that's what that's where I'm at right now. And maybe that's why I didn't want to put a video out right away. I just wanted to I put out a haul video. I finished filming my video with Ryan the other day. I did the scent of the month video, which I haven't posted. I have my Tester Tuesday video coming tonight. But I am going to World Tour. I think it's February the 16th. So I'm going to be interested to see how things are for that. Do the higher-ups need to actually sell if they have a downline? Well, they at least need to sell 500 PRV. And if they're smart, they're going to aim for the, which we're now going to talk about, the one so they can get the 5% bonus. All right, so we talked about bundles and savings. We talked a little bit about host rewards. And I'm going to say, if you're one of my customers, which I'm really doing this video for you, and it's probably long-winded, but if you have any questions, please reach out to me and I will try to explain them and how they affect you, and we'll work for a solution. But it's probably going to become more clear once we're in the thick of it, like March 1st. The next one is, I have it all grouped together: commissions, the bonus requirements, and activity requirements. So let's go to the bonus one first. So if you sell 2,000 PRV, which is roughly $2,000 worth US in 1 month, you qualify, currently, you qualify for a 5% commission increase. Now in March, they're going to raise that from 2,000 to 2,500. So in order to get the 5% bonus from the 25% that you would earn normally, which brings you to 30, you have to get 2,500 PRV. So that is an extra 500 PRV. Now, I would assume that some of these star directors, superstar directors, depending on how much they sell themselves, they're probably at that level, I would think, if not above. But recently, my superstar director kind of just left Scentsy, and we didn't really hear much about it. And now I have a different superstar director, and I don't know who she is. But I still have my director, and she's really a great person, keeps us in the loop, etc. But yeah, so even you can lose a superstar director just like that. They just kind of fall off the wagon. Hi, Michelle. Oh, sorry. Hi, Veronica. Sometimes when I see Veronica's melting memories, it makes me think of Michelle. What's Michelle's channel? I feel like there's memories or melting in there. I wonder if they are sitting on fragrance oils and bars from unprocessed clubs, and that's contributing to their lack of growth. I mean, okay, so sometimes you would think to yourself, the changes that they're making, what if, like, they probably put all these things on the table, and what if they said, like, we have to get rid of Scentsy Club? And I don't think anyone would like that. So things like that always make me nervous. Like, sometimes they make decisions, and maybe they're crappy decisions, but maybe they're the less crappy decisions. I don't know. Anyway, this is where things start to get a little dicey for me. I'm missing stuff. Yeah, well, sometimes, you know, I always think like it could be worse. The activity requirements when I first joined were 200 PRV. I think it was every 4 months or something like that. Was it 4 months? Yes. Thanks, Brandy. Yes. So when COVID hit, they went from the 4-month 200, you had to be active every 4 months, to every once per year, which I was like, whoa. And I kept thinking, when are they going to change that back? And I'm surprised that they're still keeping it once per year. But what they did was they raised it from 200 to 250. So right now we're talking about things that affect consultants only. So if you're a customer and you don't really want to listen to this part, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. So they went from 200 to 250. Personally, I would have made this change. So the other problem, this is the problem. I don't agree. This is the really thing that I feel is a mistake. I don't think you should ever decrease someone's commissions, especially when you told them that once you reach certified consultant at 25% commission, that's what you're going to get. That's the problem. That's a big, like, red flag, shoot yourself in the foot kind of situation. You don't ever, that's like going back on your word. And then, okay, so let's say you really had to do that to make ends meet. You should grandfather the existing people in, like, keep them where they are. Or maybe you should have made it that they had to be active with 200 PRV, or sorry, 250 every 6 months or something. Just do something else, but do not lower the person's commissions. That is not right. I really think that is like a negative reinforcement. It's just not right. You should reward. So they're saying that they're making the essential a title, but I mean, that's not what these people signed up for. So that's the part that I don't like. I mean, that's the part that I think is a big mistake. Hopefully, sometimes when they hear enough feedback, they do kind of correct things eventually. So I'm hoping they will correct some of these things. So, but what they're going to see is people talk with their wallets. So whether or not you choose to have a website or not, whether or not you choose to stay on with Scentsy or not, who do you sell to? Do you just sell to yourself? If you just sell to yourself and you still want to get a little bit of money to put back into your own purchases, you might be okay with the reduction. Because the flip side is, if you're still going to buy Scentsy and you're going to be a customer, then you're getting zero commission, but you also don't have to do the tax thing at the end of the year. So really what I think is you really have to kind of sit down and figure out what's going to work best for you. Like I said, what's going to work for you might not work for the other person down the street. Yeah, so one thing I would have probably, if I was sitting in the room with them and had knowledge of all the numbers and what, different things amounted to, I mean, that's really the magic bullet, right? But I think over time, let's say you're a consultant and you get, you have all of a sudden, you've got to 10,000 PRV lifetime sales, and they send you a little like pendant thing or a little charm, and they mail that to you. Or every month you hit 2,000 PRV, they mail something to you, another little charm. So how much are these little charms costing, and how much is it costing to mail every month? If you earn that every month, how much are those costing? To me, and I'm not trying to say if you earned that, it's not important, but for me personally, it's not important. So eventually I went on to the website and I said, please stop. I think there's a spot you can fill it in if you don't want to get those little things, because to me, that's just a waste of money. I mean, maybe the consultant down the street likes the reinforcement of that, but personally, I don't need it. The other thing I have written down with the sad face is the incentive trips. Scentsy has an incentive trip that's usually a big deal every year. And I think it doesn't look the greatest if you roll out these changes, you put them in the workstation, and then there's like some sort of consultant thing going on in Cancun. That doesn't look good. There's a lot of trips. Like, it seems like there's always like, there's different tiers and everything. So I feel like they need to either get, I've earned a trip once, and that's probably by a miracle, because you could sell $1 trillion in Scentsy, but you still wouldn't earn a trip, because some of it's based on sponsoring points, which is how well your team is doing, how well are you recruiting. And that's just not my style. But if somebody joins, sometimes people will just join under me, and they don't even ask me. They all of a sudden, it's just like, surprise, Susan joined under you, and you're like, oh. But I had someone that joined under me, and she did really well, and so I got a lot of points through her, and I feel like I should have brought her on the cruise with me, but I brought Erica. So the other thing is about the trips, just from my point of view, this is my situation, is I have a kid that I can't easily leave. My husband, either my husband or myself, probably need to be here with him. And do you think we're ever going to get to enjoy one of those vacations if I were to earn them? Do you think we're ever going to get to go together? Probably not. And the last time I went, and I'm probably playing my little violin here, but I had a hard time securing the fact that I would be able to go when I earned my trip. And I did pay for my daughter, but I had a hard time because my mom is getting old, and I had to find someone to help out with Drew. So if I were to earn another trip, I don't think I would be able to go. So there should be something that for the consultants that can't go or are unable to go, but there isn't. I think if you can't go, you can't go. And I think there should be something that it doesn't affect, it's not all based on, I feel like if you have enough sales, you shouldn't need sponsoring points. That's me. Anyway. The other thing is, I don't really find, what are your guys' thoughts on the licensing thing? Brandy says the trips wouldn't be an issue if they weren't taking from the bottom to give to the top. Sorry, a little bit cut off there. Give us what we're contractually promised, and we're good. Yes, Betsy, it definitely was. Erica loved that cruise so much, and she's kind of a stickler. So she even said the other day, she just said, "Can we go on another cruise?" And I'm like, "Well, we'll have to go as a family because we can't. It's hard for me to get away from the whole family dynamics with Drew needing to be taken care of." So anyway, whatever. It is what it is. But for me, the license agreements, all those licensing agreements, they must, I don't know what they cost. I have no idea because, like I said, I'm just a little, person that doesn't understand business. I'm just down sitting here on the floor talking to YouTubers. But I feel like that's a big focus. And sometimes I feel like we're married to the mob now because we're in with Disney and we're in with all these people. And it's almost like if they were to stop that, they would think it doesn't look good. But I don't know, like how can they be making, because there's always, those warmers are always in clearance. Like licensed warmers, they must not sell the greatest, and then all of a sudden they all end up in clearance. What does Amy say? Licensed products are great, but they need to slow the F down with them and stop charging $100 for a warmer. Yeah. And then, well, if you're patient, you could probably get it for half that or so in the clearance. So yeah. And then I also have a thing that I'm probably never going to be someone that recruits. So I feel like sometimes I feel like I have a big X. I'm staring at an X as I film, but I feel like sometimes I have a big X on me anyway because I'm not like the typical consultant. I just do what works for me. Because I love the product. I love wax. I have other wax that is not Scentsy, but it's expensive up here in Canada to buy other companies. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I think we can get through this. Like I said, see if it's going to work for you. Figure it out. And sometimes what I might say is if you're not sure, that means you need to wait it out a little bit and see what you want to do. Now, one thing I want to bring up is a lot of people are not keeping their website. So that would be a way to save some money. And if you don't get a lot of website orders, then do you need the website? So I don't know. You have to, I need the website because if I'm going to get any orders from YouTube, I need the website. So for me, the website stays. So yeah. So what do you guys, you can't participate in flash sales. One thing I will say is I believe, I've never actually tried this myself because I have a website, but if you don't have a website and they announce a flash sale, can you not go on and activate that website right at that moment so that you get one? And then you could, because chances are whatever you pay that month for the website, you're going to save at least that on like the first product. Or, if you bought like the Ruby Nectarine bars for 60 or 80 cents. Yeah. So I always tell people that like if they announce a flash sale and you think it's going to be good, can you not go in and sign up for it just that month? Once that month is over, go back in and cancel it. So let's say they announce a flash sale February 10th. Sign up February 10th, and then on the very last day of February, cancel it so it doesn't renew the next month. That's what I would do. As a consultant, can you have a party on another consultant's page, like in the case of a flash sale? I don't think you probably can. I believe Cindy, or I think it happened to Cindy. If you're here, verify this for me. Sometimes I have people on my team that don't have a website, so they'll order through me for a flash sale. And I think one of them I think Cindy got in trouble doing that because I don't think you're supposed to, but I mean, I don't know. And I don't really know that it's happening, but every once in a while I'll get an email from a consultant saying I had to order through a website for the flash sale, so I picked you, and I said, "Oh, thank you so much." But yeah, so yes, that's what I would do if there's a flash sale. I would if I didn't have a website, I would sign up for it just for that month, and then I would also say to anybody like, "My website's active to the end of the month if you need anything, like if your sister or mother But I mean, chances are they're going to message you anyway. So one thing that you may or may not know is if you have a website, I believe if you don't get to 500 PRV for the month, you won't show up in the consultant search. So, oh, okay. So basically, Cindy says you're not supposed to order on another consultant site. However, just go on as your spouse with their email and order from another consultant. Like, okay, there's always workarounds, I guess. Would it affect a club without a website? I think you have to have a website to set a club up on. How does this work? There was one of my teammates that had, I don't know if she canceled her club and then wanted to set up another one. And maybe when she set it up first, she had a website because it often comes free when you first sign up, I think for 3 months. And then when she tried to go back and add a new one, she couldn't. And so maybe she ended up getting a website just for a month, signing up. If anybody has done that, can you please comment below? I had to sit way back here because I had to be plugged into all these chargers, so I feel like I'm in a tunnel. Anyway, I'm just gonna have a quick little drink. So has anybody not had a website? Okay, consultants, if you have not had a website, how have you set up your club? Or did it just transfer it to you from when you were a customer? Sorry, hopefully that's not loud. Ever since I've been sick, I sound like a teenage boy going through puberty. So mine transferred when I signed up. Okay, so has anybody not had a club and then got a club after the fact? Yeah, I didn't really like that rule when I first noticed that it was happening because I was a new consultant and I'm like, well, how are people supposed to find my website? And eventually I got to the 500 PRV, but if you're below that, it's not good. You sign in or log in. Okay, so if you don't have a club and you sign in, it would still go on it would still link with you. Okay, so I'm a consultant and I already have a club. I just want to know if I can still manage my club without a website. I have heard from people that you can, so I think it should be okay. If you have a club and no website, you can log on in the Scentsy site online. I don't have a website now and my club is still coming to me. I didn't even think about that actually. Yeah, I mean, I think worst case scenario, if you had to, I run my club. I know I had one teammate that had some sort of issue because she didn't have a website, but I think she had a club. So she had a club, she signed up, her club transferred to her. Then I think she might have canceled it or something. And then when she went to start it up again because she didn't have a website, I don't know what happened there. So who gets the commission for the club purchase? That's what I mean. That would be something, that's probably something that somebody else would know the answer to. I do not know, but maybe we can get an answer and talk about it. I feel like I'm missing a lot of questions here. So let me just look back. Michelle says, I had a website when I signed up for club. I canceled my website a few months ago. You can definitely edit your club on the main Scentsy website. You just log in. Okay, I canceled my website. So, but I think that as long as you have your club first, I think you're okay. And then you can cancel your website, I think. If you start a new club and you don't have a website, you would have to put it under a consultant with a website. So that would probably be the time that you would start a website just for the month so that you can get your own club. But I think as long as you have your club already, then I think you're good. So Michelle, do you still keep your commission on that club? Well, especially if it's not linked to anybody, then you're just on the Scentsy website, then it would definitely go to her. I've seen people talk about that. I believe it definitely goes to the person. So let's just wait for her to respond. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Like, what are your thoughts? I think most people are probably most upset about the commission issue for the. So just to clarify, if you're on March the 1st, if you get 200 PRV, you will get paid the 20% commission. If you get to 250, that's when you go up to the 25%. So if you had 5 PRV, you get 20%, but you need to get 250 or above. I think that's what it boils down to, that we need to make decisions that work best for us. Yes, for sure. And it depends, like, okay. I think what I would do personally, if I was on the fence and I wasn't sure what to do, I would wait it out and see how things unfold in terms of getting feedback from other people before, but that's just me. Like us having this discussion, or I'm sure that's terrible English, but the fact that we're all having the discussion and hearing from other people's experiences, that's what's going to help people figure out what to do. So sometimes I wonder if all the smaller consultants cancel their website, how does that affect consultants that are above them? But I guess if you're not showing up on the consultant locator, they're still getting the business anyway. Because I was thinking, but I think that's kind of an unfair rule. But that was explained to me as, if you're working your business aggressively and you get into a certain PRV level, that's when they feel you should be rewarded and put on the consultant locator. As a consultant, do we still get PRV for a Scentsy Club? Yes, you do. Thank you so much for doing this. My biggest issue was that we were promised 25% lifetime once we hit 1,000. Minute things get rough, or minute things get rough, they take it away. I don't agree with that. Yeah. I think customers and consultants build a relationship and help each other out, and that's nice. Yes. They don't show up. Sorry, let me just see. All right. Commissions are reduced for Scentsy Club. I think they were thinking that they were going to do that, but I mean, they're reduced because you're getting paid on instead of getting paid in the US $6 a bar, you're getting paid on that $5.40 bar. One thing I will say is keep an eye, if you're a consultant, please keep an eye out for what the PRV is on things like light bulbs, cotton cleanups, whiff box. Those things are always reduced PRV. And so sometimes, you know what I mean? Just be careful how you, sometimes I put those as my free things. But yeah, I don't want to be up too late. It's 11 o'clock here. I'm getting tired. Just, you can see, I describe this as like my husband wrinkle, Ryan, Erica, Scentsy, the big one in the middle, Scentsy. Do you know why that is? Do I know why that is? As a customer, I have no qualms about the changes as long as Scentsy Club rules don't change. That's how I get my bars. Yeah. I think that if they change Scentsy Club, that would be a big issue. So, like I said, it could always get worse. But let's see how things roll out. I mean, I'm going to be interested to see how the vibe feels at the world tour. I hope it's not going to be, I really don't, sometimes I get uncomfortable in those situations because I don't like it when, and please let me know if you're bothered by this, if you're a consultant. I just don't like the part where they go Scentsy and then they go Spirit. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Speaking of, when we went on the cruise, Erica said she overheard some cruise people talking about how some Scentsy consultants were kind of harassing them and like being overbearing. And I'm thinking, oh, that's what I don't like. I'm not like that. So they were annoyed. They said they didn't really like the fact that the Scentsy people were on the cruise. So that was kind of embarrassing because I definitely was not one of those people. I just did my own thing. But does anybody else have anything they want to add or questions? Yeah, it's kind of pushy. I'm not, Sometimes I tell people like I have an order going in, and sometimes I feel like that's pushy. But I feel like 9 times out of 10, if I don't tell a person that an order is going in, the very next day after I put the order in, they message me asking for when's your next order, and I feel terrible. So yeah, like let's lighten the mood because everybody likes to talk about this part. What are you warming? Type it down below. What are you warming? And after you tell me what you warmed, hit the like if you can. All right. One of my friends won't pay shipping, so she only places orders. Yeah, shipping is a big thing for people. I feel like they could raise the bars, but don't raise the shipping because people don't like shipping. Okay, Christmas cookie, peaks and pines, watermelon mint, appealing apple. We have 4 people warming something. I'm warming walnut raisin muffin, woolly slippers, whipped frosting, circle of life. Lots of variety here. So if we have a Scentsy club, let me see what the... You guys keep typing. I've peppered with kisses going whipped vanilla. So if we have a Scentsy club of $250, does that qualify for the 5%? I mean, it would bring you to the 25% that you're getting now. But not necessarily. You need 250 PRV. So PRV and dollar amount are not the same. You will see a club come through at a certain amount and the PRV is always less. So keep that in mind. The reason being is a lot of people get half off items and you don't earn PRV on that. So be very careful when you place an order thinking that you're going to be above the 250 because sometimes you might be at 238 and then you're like, oh, I'm so close, but yet so far. I put stitch in here on Saturday, and this is Monday, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But man, it was almost too strong the past couple of days. And my husband had the window open because he wasn't feeling well. He was in here like hibernating. And with the window open, it was okay. But then yesterday he closed the window and it was horrible. Is there supposed to be 10% off in February? I'm not sure. Desiree said something that there is no good in these changes for consultants like me. Scentsy did well when corporate took care of their consultants no matter what the consultant's status. Yeah. I feel like if you're essential if you place an order and it is not enough to be in that active status, then it almost feels like, you're not making what you used to make. You're losing 5%. And some of it is not basically the money because if you were to do the math, it might not be that much, but sometimes it's the principle of it. It just doesn't seem right. Luckily for me, I'm above 250 PRV each month, so it does not affect me directly. I just feel like it is not the right thing for the consultants. So it's just not what you want to be putting out there because really, they always say, give more than you take, but it almost seems like they're doing the opposite. So anyway, I am just a lowly consultant in Halifax, HRM, Nova Scotia. How often can we cancel? Somebody said, how often can we cancel? Yeah, I think that sometimes it does seem like they're kind of targeting the people that are making the least amount of money. I think that maybe they're thinking by doing this change, because anytime you make a change or a challenge, sometimes it's the fight or flight response, and maybe they're hoping that people are going to fight their way to 250 PRV every month. But they're also going to have people that are just going to say, I'm not into this, and they're going to say, screw it. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get ready for bed. And I hope that, I don't know if this was helpful for you all, but it was nice to chat and try to be, cautiously optimistic. That's what I'm going to say to you. Try to be cautiously optimistic because you just don't know until things roll out. And like I said, don't be influenced. If you feel you need to make a change, make the change. if you want to stay and do exactly what you're doing, stay and do that. And try not to feel like people are going to judge you. Everyone should have the freedom to make their own decision, to do what works best for them, because everybody's circumstances are totally different. And that's just the way it is. So anyway, I hope that, you know, we can kind of move forward and see how things roll out. But it is sad. I think the changes are sad. So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you soon. My Tester Tuesday video will be airing in about 49 minutes. So check that out and don't forget to vote. Have a great night. I'm going to take off. See you guys.